In Genesis chapter 2, verse 1, God tells us, "Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them, and on the seventh day God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day, and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made." In this passage we are talking about, I don't know if it's evident to you, but we are talking about the Sabbath day. The Sabbath. Actually, we're not. It didn't say Sabbath. Did it say Sabbath in there anywhere? No, it did not. It said seventh day. Now they're almost the same, but they're not. They are not the same word or the same meaning, but they are very close in their meaning. This is talking about the seventh day. Remember, he created everything in 6 days. Man, he created on the sixth day, and he then rested on the seventh day. Now, why did he rest on the seventh day? I mean, if you went to work and you built a house, especially if you did it in one day, you'd probably be worn out, you know. But if you built the universe, you know, you'd probably really be worn out, but didn't faze God a bit. He's omnipotent, and therefore he simply spoke things into existence. He didn't make him tired in the least. Why did he stop then? Why did he? I mean, he was on a roll. He was doing a good thing. Well, he finished. Everything was done, and that goes along with the first law of thermodynamics, and that is that nothing is being created. Since the beginning, there's nothing being created. We take God's creation and we rearrange it. With all the natural resources, we arrange it into things. Like Keone says, you know, well, I was reading in one of the books for him, you know, at devotion time, and as I read to him, it said that God made everything. Did he make the car? You know, he gave us all that we needed to make the car, but man made the car. That's the reason so many people are killed in them. You know? So God gave us everything, and without what he made, we could create nothing, or we could make nothing. But God did all the creating, but he does we do the fashioning many times, and that wears us out, and all the energy. So God finished, and that's the first law of thermodynamics. The second law of thermodynamics is everything's basically running down. Everything now is under the curse of corruption, and is going, instead of from being more complex like evolution claims, the laws of nature says everything's going backwards. Everything's getting worse and worse. There are more diseases instead of fewer. There are people dying at a younger age rather than at 969 years old like Methuselah did. And so with all of our advancements in medication and conquering and vaccinations and everything, we still only live about 70, and then if by strength maybe a little bit more than 80 years. And so he finished the job. Point is, he finished the job, and no more creating needed to be done. And then, so what did he do? He sanctified the seventh day, and because he ended it, and he made and rested on the seventh day from all the work which he had done. Now, because we're not going to get into the plan of salvation like I was going to, let me just tell you right now that as this applies, when it says he finished, can you remember some words that he said about something being finished? It is finished. When he was on the cross, when he died, he said, it is finished. He had finished everything required to get us to heaven. He finished the job. And it's interesting, the two interests there. One is that when he said it is finished, tetelestai in Greek literally means paid in full, that he made a complete payment for sin. But as not only that, but it refers to the finish, that everything that was needed to be done was done. So he finished the job. But he did that before he died. Isn't that interesting? He did it before he died. Now, if the wages of sin is death, how could he finish the job before he died? Was he finished paying for it? He had already paid the spiritual penalty of sin. When I was in school, there were a group of kids that they said, well, Jesus didn't really die spiritually, he only died physically. And not the case. When he was on the cross, he said, my God, before, it wasn't the last words he said. He said, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? He was actually quoting Psalm 22:1. And he was saying, I am forsaken. I am separated from God the Father. Now, the wages of sin is death. And death means separation. It doesn't mean to stop existing. It means that you've been separated from the source of life. Physically, the separation from the source of life is when your soul is separated from your body. When your soul is separated from your body is now separated, it is dead. You see. Now that's physical death. That hadn't happened to Jesus yet. But when your soul is separated from God the Father, from the source of spiritual life, then you are dead. And we actually begin that way. We begin life dead and separated from the Father. And we need to be born again, or born into his family, and then we are brought back reconciled into a right relationship with God, and we have been born again, and we've passed from death into life. So he had already died spiritually when he said, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Instantly, it is finished, was also not the last words he said. The last words he said was, Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. And then he gave up the ghost, and his spirit became separated from his body, and he paid the physical penalty of sin as well. Praise God. So therefore we can be saved not only spiritually, but physically as well, and eventually we will receive a glorified body, and we'll receive that eternal life the moment we trust Christ as Savior, but we receive the physical or a new body when we are raptured with the law, with those who have gone on before, not lost, but those who have been separated from your body already. They are asleep. Their body is dead, but their spirit is alive with the Lord. Now, I want you to see something. He says, this day, he didn't say this is a day of worship, just so you know. Did he say, what did he say? He says, God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it because, I'm in verse 3, because in it he rested from all his work which God created and made. Now, so what does that mean to us? Well, we see the completed work there. We see that's what that means to us. But there was a greater significance, and we're not coming back to Genesis, so turn with me to Leviticus chapter 23. I want you to see the difference and the similarities between the seventh day and the day and the Sabbath day. Between the seventh day and the Sabbath day. And we're going to look here, so you better turn here because we're going to look at almost the whole chapter, almost every verse. And let's start in verse 1. It says, And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feasts of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts. Okay, now he's going to tell us about the feasts of the Lord. He's going to talk about their holidays. And so let's see what they are. Verse 3, 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh, okay, now that's what we were talking about, the seventh day, is the Sabbath. Oh, the seventh is also a Sabbath. Now, that's not redundance there. He's not saying the seventh day is the seventh day. The seventh day is a Sabbath. Now, what is the difference? I don't know. God rested on the Sabbath. But what is the difference between the two? Well, let's see if we can get an insight here. And a holy convocation, it's a holiday. Okay, it's a holiday. And what are you supposed to do in that holiday? It is a Sabbath of rest and a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings. So you've got the seventh day, which is a numerical thing. The seventh day of the week. It's Saturday. Okay, so there's the seventh day. Then there's the Sabbath day, which is a celebration. It is a holiday. It is a day of rest. Now, so God, what did God do? He said, the seventh day of every week, every seventh day, every Saturday is a day of rest. It's a celebration. It's a holiday. And so you stay home, you enjoy your life and enjoy your meals that you prepared on Friday, and then you worship on Sunday. You know, so there was a holiday every one day out of every week. And then there's something well, we found out that just take that and we'll learn more about it. But the first holiday was actually the first on they declared it the beginning of the week, or the beginning of the year, the first of the year. 6 days shall they work, and there'll be no servile work therein. Verse 4. What was the characteristic of the holidays, of the holy convocations? No work, right? No work. Now you could have a celebration and work, right? And you could have a holiday and not work. So I mean, there are two kinds, right? And so he says, these are the feasts of the Lord. Now he goes on, there's the Sabbath day, which is the seventh day, and then there are other Sabbath days, but they're not on the seventh day, because these are the feasts of the Lord, holy convocations, holidays, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons. Now, on the 14th day of the first month. Now, the 14th day of the first month. What day of the week would that be? I don't know. Depends on what year it is, right? You don't really know which day of the week it came. And just so you know, Jesus was crucified on Passover. What day of the week was he crucified? Was he crucified on Saturday? No. Just so you know, we've studied this before, and we're going to touch on it today. But he was crucified on Thursday. Some people say on Wednesday, but he was crucified on Thursday. And you'll see why some people say that he was crucified on Friday in a few moments. But we're going to cover this chapter first, all right? And so we may have to wait till next week. So on the 14th day of the first month, at even, is the Lord's Passover, and on the 15th day. Well, that's all he says about the Passover. Was it a holy convocation? Well, it was a feast day, because he just said these are the feast days of the Lord. But it was, and they were holy convocations, but he didn't say anything about it being a Sabbath. He didn't say anything about doing no servile work there. So this was a little different. This was a working holiday. Why was it a working holiday? It was always a working holiday. Why was it a working holiday? Well, you'll see in a moment, in a large moment, but a moment. And on the next day, on the 15th day of the same month, is the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which unto the Lord 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. Okay, so the day after Passover was a Feast of Unleavened Bread. And then they would celebrate the Feast of Unleavened Bread for 7 days, a full week. And the first day was a special day, and the last day were a special day. What made those special? Well, let's read and find out. On the first day you shall have an holy convocation, you shall do no servile work therein. So on the week that Jesus died, that Friday was a day that they were not allowed to work. Now, they weren't allowed to work on Saturday either, because that was a regular Sabbath. Now, just so you know, if Passover was also a day of rest, that would have been Thursday, Friday, and Saturday that they couldn't eat. They couldn't fix anything to eat, They could eat something that's laying around, some roadkill or something. But and then what about, well, we'll find out another holiday was on Sunday. So if all of these were days you could not work and could not fix food, for example, well, you couldn't have fixed food on Wednesday, on Thursday, on Friday, on Saturday, or on Sunday. But the thing is, Passover was not a Sabbath. It was not it didn't say, do no servile work therein, did it? And so you could work on the Sabbath day, on Passover. In fact, you had to work on Passover. Why? Because it was, and I'm getting ahead of myself, but we'll see it when we get over in the New Testament. It was the day of preparation. The day before the Sabbath was always a day of preparation. We know that Friday was a Sabbath that week. Friday was a Sabbath. That was the Feast of First Fruits, not First Fruits, the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Feast of Unleavened Bread, which you could do no servile work then. And so Thursday that year was Passover, and Passover was always a preparation day. It was a high day. It was a high preparation day. It wasn't a regular Sabbath on Sunday. It was a special preparation day for the Feast of the Unleavened Bread. Not the Feast of First Fruits, but the Unleavened Bread. Feast of First Fruits was on Sunday that year. Now, Feast of First Fruits was always on Sunday. It was always the day after the seventh day Sabbath. Feast of First Fruits was always after, but on this particular week it would have been 2 days after the first day of Feast of Unleavened Bread. I don't know if I'm confusing you here, but we'll get to it and explain more a little bit here in a minute. So what happens? In the verse 7, in the first day ye shall have, first day of unleavened bread, you'll have a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord 7 days. In the seventh day is an holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein either. At verse 9, we see a different day, and this is the Feast of First Fruits. And the Lord spake unto Moses, verse 9, speaking to the children of Israel, and saying to them, when ye come into the land which I give you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then shall you have bring a sheaf. A sheaf was as much as you could hold in one hand. What they would do is they would grab some of their wheat. They probably do it with their left hand. Grab some of their wheat, and they'd take their scythe, and they would cut it off, and then they would take one of those out, and they would wrap around it and tie it. That was a sheaf. That was a lot smaller than a bale. Okay, and if something happened that you got too greedy with that sheaf, and you tied it, and it came untied, or it broke, when it hit the ground, it wasn't yours. It belonged to the homeless or the needy or the widows. It became, they called it gleanings. And when you did it, you also weren't allowed to, well, we'll see what you're not allowed to do as we read it. And he says, and he shall wave the sheaf before the Lord, in verse 11, and to be accepted for you on the morrow, when? On the morrow, the day after, the Sabbath. The priest shall wave it. It's always on Sunday. Tomorrow the Sabbath is what it's talking about. And ye shall offer that day and wave the sheaf, and he shall and a lamb without blemish of the first year for burnt offering unto the Lord. And the meat offering thereof shall be 2/10 deals of flour mingled with oil, etc. Now let's go to verse 14. And ye shall eat neither bread nor parched corn, nor eat green ears until the selfsame day that ye have brought the offering unto your Lord. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. That's the Feast of First Fruits, which is on Sunday. Was not anything mentioned in that about it being a time when they could do no servile work. It was a working holiday, so they could work on that day. Praise God, because they'd have been mighty hungry if they couldn't fix themselves a meal because on the week that Jesus, because they were already had 2 days when they couldn't eat. That Friday, they couldn't fix anything. You could fix it the day before. And that was called a preparation day, which would have been a Passover. Passover was always a preparation day. It was a working holiday, and the ladies would fix a wonderful meal at Passover. And it shall come to pass, verse 15, that from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that brought the sheaf of wave offering, 7 Sabbaths, 49 days, shall be complete, even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath, the 50th day after the feast, shall be a number 50 days, and ye shall offer a new meat offering unto the Lord, and ye shall bring out your inheritance to wave loaves of 2/10 deals meal, and this is Pentecost. Now let's jump down and see what happens on Pentecost, verse 21. And ye shall proclaim on the selfsame day that it will be a holy convocation unto you. You shall do no servile work therein. So it was also a non-working day. It was a Sabbath holiday. Let's jump over in verse 23. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speaking to the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, around September, October, but the first month was April, and the first day of the 7th month shall be a Sabbath, a memorial blowing of trumpets, the Feast of Trumpets, and also Yom Kippur. It was the Feast of Trumpets. And ye shall do no servile work therein, but ye shall offer an offering made by the fire unto the Lord. So that was a Sabbath holiday. And then is the Feast of Jehovah, is the Day of Atonement. This one is Yom Kippur. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, also on the 10th day of the 7th month. Okay, the first day was Feast of Trumpets, and now we see the Feast of Affliction, which was the Day of Atonement. Also Yom Kippur. And on the 10th day of the 7th month, then shall be a day of atonement. It shall be an holy convocation unto you. We're verse 27. And unto you, and ye shall afflict your souls and offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord, and ye shall do no servile work on that day. For it is a day of atonement to make an atonement for you to the Lord. So it was also a working holiday. Let's go over and see more about it in verse 31. And ye shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever. We're still talking about Yom Kippur, ever throughout your generations and all your dwellings. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest. All right, so now he's calling a rest day a Sabbath day. And ye shall afflict your souls. It was also called a Feast of Affliction. In the 9th day of the month at even unto even, and shall celebrate your Sabbath. Then we see another, the Feast of Tabernacles in the fall. In verse 34, speaking to the children of Israel, saying, the 15th day of the 7th month. Now, Feast of Yom Kippur was on the 10th day, and now we see the 15th day shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days unto the Lord. It was much like the Feast of Unleavened Bread, where they had a holiday on the first day and on the last day. And on the first day shall be a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein. In the last part of verse 36, the last phrase, it said, and ye shall do no servile work therein. So it was a non-working day. It was a Sabbath, verse 39. Also in the 15th day of the 7th month, when ye shall gather in the fruit of the land, you're gathering in the fruit of the land, it's harvest time in the fall, ye shall make a feast unto the Lord 7 days. On the first day shall be a Sabbath, and on the 8th day shall be a Sabbath. So that they had, again, no servile work. Now my point that I'm going through all of this is so that you can see the difference between the 7th day and the Sabbath day. Understand the Sabbath day was a holiday in which you could not work. Some of the holidays you did work. And which were those? Number 2, there was Passover and there was first fruits. Passover was the day that Jesus was crucified. First fruits was the day he was resurrected, the following Sunday. So those you could work. Feast of Unleavened Bread was the next day. It was a Sabbath, the next day after Jesus was crucified, that Friday. And therefore, on that Thursday was a preparation. They would prepare the meal for Friday. They would do double preparation because there also would be the Sabbath day of the week, the seventh day of the week, which was the Sabbath. So they'd have to prepare twice as much. So they fixed an awful lot at Passover and had a lot of leftovers, see. And then the next day, which is the Feast of First Fruits on Sunday, they could and did work. But it was still a holiday when they would wave and make offerings and stuff like that. All right, I want us to turn over to John. And we'll verify some of these things and see maybe how they apply to us a little bit. But actually, next week is the application. So let's look at John 19. In John 19, we're going to start in verse 14. Now, this is at the crucifixion of Jesus. So that is trial. Verse 13, when Pilate therefore heard the saying, so they're at the trial, and then he delivered him to be crucified on Golgotha, which is called Gabbatha in the Hebrew, apparently. In verse 14, and it was the preparation of the Passover. When Jesus was crucified was the preparation of the Passover. Now the reason I'm doing this is I want you to see why there's some confusion on what day Jesus was crucified. Because they felt like, number one, the misconception that Passover was a Sabbath. It was not. It was a holiday, but it wasn't a Sabbath. They could work. In fact, they had to work. It was designated as the preparation day for the first day of unleavened bread. Every Friday, by the way, it was also a preparation. Every Friday was a preparation day for Saturday, the seventh day of the week, which was a Sabbath. They couldn't work on Saturday. So Friday was a preparation day. Well, they had two back-to-back preparation days that week. And so they had to do twice the preparation, 3 times the preparation on Passover. They had to prepare for Friday and for Saturday, as well as prepare the Passover meal. It was a big time of preparation that day, I guess. But it was, I don't know, sometimes at Christmas we do that, don't we? Or Thanksgiving, we do a lot of preparation. Or somebody does. I just normally just enjoy it, you know. Mm-hmm. I might put something on the table, but whatever. Let's look at another verse that talks about it. It says, and it was the preparation, verse 14, of the Passover. That Passover was a preparation day. And about the 6th hour, he saith unto the Jews, behold your king. So he's saying that he was, the trial took place on the preparation day. I don't know if you can see that in this. Let's verify it. Verse 31. The Jews, therefore, because it was the preparation, I'm in verse 31. The Jews, therefore, because it was the preparation, that the bodies should not remain upon the cross. Wait a minute. The bodies were on the cross on the preparation day. They didn't want them to remain on the cross for, this was a preparation day. What would happen is they couldn't do anything about embalming them on Friday because it was a day they couldn't do any servile work. They couldn't do anything about embalming Jesus on Saturday because it was a day they couldn't do any work. And that's the reason they went early in the morning, before daylight, to the sepulcher to see Jesus and embalm him. Now they did some embalming when they took him down from the cross before sundown. But if you read it, but they didn't have much time to repeat that the next day. So they went early in the morning on Sunday morning. It says, Jesus, therefore, because it was the preparation day, that the body should not remain upon the cross on the Sabbath day, for that Sabbath was a high day. It was not a regular Sabbath, it was a high day. Now see the difference there? If you don't realize that Friday was a Sabbath, you would assume that he was crucified on Friday, wouldn't you? Can you see what I'm talking about there? Say, well, this is the preparation. Well, the preparation was on Friday. And so, since he's like, we don't want to leave the bodies there, well, yeah, they both were preparation days. But the high day was the Passover, because the next day they couldn't prepare anything because it was a Sabbath day. All right, and he brought to Pilate that their legs might be broken and that they might be taken away. Look at verse 42. And there laid they Jesus, after they took him down from the cross. This is where Joseph of Arimathea, verse 38. And after Joseph of Arimathea, being a disciple of Jesus, but secretly, because he was very afraid of the Jews, besought Pilate that he might take away the body of Jesus, and Pilate gave him leave. He came therefore and took the body of Jesus, and there came also Nicodemus, which at first came to Jesus by night, and brought the mixture of myrrh and aloes, about 100-pound weight. Then took they the body of Jesus and wound it in linen cloths with the spices, and the manner of the Jews is to bury. And now at that place was also he was crucified. There was a garden, and in the garden a new sepulchre wherein was never man laid. There they laid Jesus. Therefore, because of the Jews' preparation day for the sepulchre was nigh at hand. Luke chapter 23, almost the end of the chapter, or over halfway through. If we look at verse 53 through 56, we see. Let's start real quickly so we can recap in verse 50. And behold, there was a man named Joseph, a counselor, and he was a good man and a just, and the same had not consented unto the counsel indeed of them. He was of Arimathea, a city of the Jews, and also himself waited for the kingdom of God. This man went into Pilate and begged the body of Jesus, and took it down and wrapped it in linen and laid it in a sepulchre that was hewn in stone, wherein never man before was laid, and the day was the preparation, and the Sabbath drew on. Now, what does that mean? They did that on the day of preparation, right? Isn't that what it says there? It kind of clarifies what it said in John. They did it on the day of preparation. But the Sabbath drew on. Remember, Friday was a Sabbath. It was the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which was always a Sabbath, was always a day they could not work. And so that's what it means here. The day was a preparation and the Sabbath drawn. To get a little context here, we'll just want to read what happened next. And the women also, which came with him from Galilee, followed after and beheld the sepulchre and how his body was laid. So they had done some preparations, some embalming, but they could not come the next 2 days to add to that. Normally they would embalm the body. When they would wrap it, they would put within the wrappings, they would put spices, and then they would lay it on a slab in the tomb, and then they would return and pour spiced oil over it so that they could keep it saturated for some time to embalm the body. And that's what they were wanting to return to do. And they returned and prepared spices and ointments, but they rested on the Sabbath day according to the commandment. Now, I want to show you one more verse in Matthew, just before the resurrection. Matthew chapter 28, verse 1. He says, "In the end of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn toward the first day of the week, came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to see the sepulchre." What? They said, began as the day began to dawn. I'd already told you that. They came to see the sepulchre, and what they had, the spices and the oil that they had to pour over the body, they were getting ready to re-anoint his body that day. Well, here's an interesting thing about that verse. Okay, let me tell you what it says, okay? The Sabbaths. There was an S on the end of that. Well, yeah, it's plural. And it's very clearly plural in the Greek. I've looked it up several times. I've got more than one Greek. I've got about 4 or 5 Greek texts in the back, and they all agree. It is plural. Said at the end of the Sabbaths. In other words, there was more than one Sabbath. What are we talking about there? Well, the day before was the 7th day of the week. It was a Sabbath. But the day before that was Friday, but it was the first day of unleavened bread, which was a Sabbath. That is the correct translation, and that's why he wrote, God inspired it to be written that way. Because that tells us that the Sabbaths were over. So he's agreeing, and he's actually kind of bringing it together here, that there were Sabbaths, and at the end of the Sabbaths, the first day came, which was not a Sabbath, but it was a holiday. It was the Feast of First Fruits. So in view of all that, I'd just like you to see the agreement of the Old Testament with the New, the reliability of the Scriptures, and that we can understand and believe and know exactly what day Jesus was crucified.